Hello and welcome to No CB, a grand strategy podcast with
You,
me.
you sound so enthusiastic today,
I don't know
Loris.
how to do intros properly, you know.
Hello and welcome to
Oh,
No
that's
CB, a
that's
Grand
too.
Strategy
That's
podcast. This is episode 87, September 22nd, 2021.
I
I
can't
don't
do
think I've ever
that.
put that much energy into anything
Yeah,
ever.
that's too American. I should
No,
be. I do
yeah.
it like a Radio 4 broadcaster. Hello and welcome to No CB, a grand strategy podcast. I'm your host. Like that. That's how it should do it. It's like a. Anyway, I'm Fab Loris. With me is Rose
Hey there.
and Lord Lambert.
Hello.
And I guess first on the agenda is Victoria Free.
Well, like usual.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Lambert, if you want to tell us a little bit about this one. Yes.
Well, we're getting into some very heavy topics here because we're going to be looking at slavery, which I think is probably the most heavy topic that any Paradox game attempts to cover.
And I feel that this slavery is different than because Imperator had slavery,
Yeah.
but Imperators thousands of years ago, this slavery still has impact today.
Yeah, real world.
Yeah, I mean,
consequences.
there
It's
are
not like
people
Solaris
alive
either.
today who remember people who were slaves.
Yes.
Yeah, which is mental, right? I mean, I can't even imagine.
I mean, and the impacts
you know, it's
of that slavery
Well,
are
I
still
was-
very much apparent today.
Well, I was
So-
watching someone who was cleaning a grave on TikTok, and they were talking. The history. This grave was from like 1860, 1850, and this person's grandchild died in 1962, 100 years after they had died, and it's just like that's after my parents were born. It just
It's still a very recent and fresh thing. So
Yeah,
this kind of topic, if you're going to be including it in the game, needs to be handled with a bit of care, consideration, and not bring levity to it. And I think it's worked out pretty reasonably. I can't see at first glance any issues I would have with this.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people be not iffy about it, but basically saying that if Paradox are going to implement slavery into Victoria 3, then and doing it as much justice and not shying away from horrific reality of human history, then why are they not doing the same for the Holocaust in Hoi 3, Hoi 4 even?
boy games.
And I mean, I guess just to nip that one in the bud, I mean, what Victoria 3 is doing is it's got a stated aim of having every single human being on the planet in 1836 represented, and there is no alternative you can really do with regards to slavery that is good, right? There's no other alternatives. You can't make slaves a modifier because that's, I mean, kind of revolting, let's be honest.
Yeah, I mean,
You can't just pretend that it wasn't a thing.
Because then you'd be erasing all those people from history.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, imagine if they didn't include the pops like as a thing. It's just
or worse, have it as a trade good.
Trade good, yeah.
Mhm.
Like EU4
Which
does.
is EU4.
Well, yeah, I feel like EU4 doesn't have pops, so I feel like that's
Yeah, but that's its own fault, and it should.
Yeah, I know. If EU4 had pops, it'd be a whole different.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So I am of the opinion that this is the best way they could have done it. Like, I can't see any other viable alternatives, so I'm pretty happy with what's happening here.
Yeah. I really like it. I think this is the best way of doing things for sort of accurate economic portrayal of slavery. Well, obviously boiled down into a gamified format, I guess. But there's and it allows history to develop organically, right? So you've got the institution of slavery is going to be beneficial for a certain pop, i.e. for people who own the businesses that have the slaves and they don't have to pay their employees. The slaves can't work in industrialized things, so it models, the lack of industrialization in a lot of American slave states, and notably also Brazil, I guess, which much bigger slave state at the time, and a lot of African slave states too,
and much of Asia as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
It was confirmed that the Ottomans start with slave trade as their law, whereas in Victoria II they had slavery banned, which not historical. But
yeah, I mean that's something I think people don't know about the Ottomans much, or slavery in that region. I mean, that was the biggest slave trade, was the through what was called the Arabian slave trade, I guess, which was through the route, and the Ottomans were essentially a slave empire.
And I think a lot of people tend to focus and think, they think slavery nowadays, and they only think of what happened here in the Americas.
Yes.
Yeah.
When it happened all over the world. My husband and I talked to him about Korea. Korea had a slavery system.
Yep.
That only ended when Japan took them over.
That's right. And yep.
And yeah, like a lot of things you see nowadays is Korean traditions, such as how they practice Chuseok, which was actually yesterday, day before. I don't know. It's confusing with the other side of the world, which is Korean Thanksgiving. That was only practiced by the really wealthy until suddenly all the slaves were freed, and they started, practicing this too because it was a sign that they were now free,
right,
and had the same rights.
Interesting. Korean Thanksgiving though, like. I can't imagine. What's the history? Do you know history behind that? Or
it's more a harvest festival.
Harvest festival. Oh, okay, cool.
Right.
I like that. Yeah.
And then the other big one is Seonal, which is Lunar New Year. A lot of people, we call it Chinese New Year, but it's practiced all over Asia.
That's
so
right, yeah.
I prefer the term Lunar New Year.
Yeah, same.
Unless you're specifically talking about the Chinese practices, which are different than Japan or Korea, or
I mean,
I guess nations practice it.
I guess it originated in China, but that would be like calling, I know, Christmas, Jerusalem,
Roman
or something, yeah. So, because it started somewhere, and then it migrated around. But obviously China's such.
We get Christmas trees from Germany.
Yeah, exactly. It was actually the royal family, I guess.
Halloween's coming up. We get that from Ireland with turnips that became pumpkins.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, which I guess brings us back to the Victorian period. I think another interesting aspect, which is a significant aspect of the slave trade, was you have abolitionist nations. Famously, Britain was very, very pro-abolition. Progressively more and more so. So one danger, if you are running slavery, I guess, if you're a slave state in Africa who's profiteering from slave trade, you might not be profiteering for very long because the full force of a Royal Navy might be knocking at your door, and after they've beaten Europe, they might not decide to leave, which happened historically, and generally went in with the mission to end slavery and then just didn't leave, I guess, afterwards. I think was the
just got to enforce that anti-slavery stance, and what better way to do it than stationing some redcoats there forever
and ever until the 1960s, which is an odd one to think.
They do have the different stages of slavery here, and that's also true. Like debt slavery, that was often called indentured servitude.
Yeah,
over here in the U.S., which was initially a lot of poor English folks came over here with their passage paid for and worked. I think it was 10 or 12 years.
Yeah. I mean,
so what's interesting,
it's an odd one to include because we've got debt slavery, but of course Britain practiced debt slavery, essentially with the poor laws for well into the Victorian period.
Yep.
I believe those are I think those are going to be a part of the serfdom kind of sliding scale rather than the slavery sliding scale, because with the poor laws, it wasn't, people weren't property still. They were tied to the land,
true.
which is what serfdom is yes, rich asshole owns the land and you are tied to the land, whereas slavery was you specifically as a human being were the property, rather than the land that you were tied to.
Yeah.
So there's in many ways, effectively, they were the same in many ways, but they're being differentiated here for what seems like more historical accuracy. On a human scale, I imagine serfs are going to have pretty poor standards of living, just like slavery pops will.
Because they're essentially living hand to mouth.
Yeah, I mean, people do that still today. But it's
paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah, but yeah, definitely the separation of serfdom and slavery. I think it's disappointing a few people I've seen. Because they don't see the differences between it, or they don't think the difference between tied to the land and being property yourself is like, it's a very, very marginal difference, but it is a meaningful one. So I think it is the right decision to separate.
And one of the biggest differences is if you were a serf, you wouldn't be torn apart from your parents.
Yeah,
you and your parents and your children, your grandparents, all of you were tied to that land, so you were all in it together forever. Slavery, they would quite often just deliberately break up families to keep everyone destabilized.
Well, the same thing happened with poor laws, of course. Like, children were taken away from poor members. But yes, I understand. I do hope there's a distinction, because it doesn't make much sense for. Well, Britain at the time was obviously zealously anti-slavery. Which basically be an excuse. I'd say that is not a bad thing. It's a good excuse, going around beating the shit out of slavers, ending the transatlantic slave trade, but used it as the casus belli, I guess. And that wouldn't make sense if they had the debt slavery civic, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But they did have poor laws, so it would make more sense if it was a separate thing, tied to a sort of prison system. They served them. Brilliant.
I like that this is tying into diplomacy as well, which we haven't learned much of, but we will soon.
Have they mentioned that in the dev diary? So that's coming in the future stage,
Not far away now, apparently. But I really like how it's going to tie into diplomacy, especially like with Britain specifically. Apparently, I'm Father Loris now.
Yeah, sorry. That's my webcam.
Like Britain using its economic and military might to tell people, no, you're not allowed to have slaves anymore, is going to be, something that is going to be a part of the game, which is awesome. It's exactly what Britain did in many countries, with Portugal, Spain, Denmark, with I think we did it with Prussians as well. But there's like, if you look for the British-French Treaty of 1812, or all of these different British country treaties of like that early 1800s period, it's all about Britain forcing people to stop the transatlantic slave trade. It was a very massive expense.
Very, very zealous.
Thing. It's the most moral thing Britain has ever done.
Yeah.
You know what? This is. I know it's called Victoria, which is Queen Victoria, which is the UK, and it's very Eurocentric, like U4. But I am interested to see how, like, they model the slavery that occurred in other parts of the world outside of Africa, Europe.
Well, I imagine Asia, it's going to do it through the serf system. So, like, I know in China it was essentially a serf system. It'd have basically conscripted laborers work on projects and
See, one of the big reasons that many people don't know that the Arabian African slave trade was as big as it was is because of the practice of, let's say, forced sterilization of the slaves there, which means there isn't a large African population in Arabia today.
Yeah.
So it's not front and center that there's a group of people who come from a different place.
The Americas.
Yeah, exactly. Where that's I think part of the reason why it's not known about.
Or
it's like
the enslavement of your own population.
Well, that's
yeah.
Or people of a similar enough ethnic group that when slavery ended, no one could really tell the difference after a couple generations.
Well, yeah, I mean that's
Without...
that's what happened in Africa proper, right? Because I think every African state at the time basically were involved in the slave trade, as higher up nobles would basically sell their.
We have Ludi in chat talking about Romanian slaves.
With the Ottoman Empire, yeah.
That's right, yeah. Well, I hope that gets modelled. It'd be interesting. I can't see it being like deeply modelled like at the start of the game, but maybe we'll get an Ottoman expansion. But we'll see like the systems they had in place. It was a very complicated slave system that the Ottomans had. Very racialized too. Even had like grand white slave and the grand black slave. It's very strange tiered system and very complicated.
Well, yeah. I was talking about the indentured servants who mainly came to Virginia and stuff, because that eventually stopped because people switched more to African slaves. But a lot of the indentured servants considered themselves better than African slaves.
Yeah.
Because the color of their skin. Even though they did the same work.
It was just an interesting thing in the UK, I guess, because the abolitionist movement was very big, but you wouldn't. But at the time, and for years later, I guess it was a very racist society. A lot of people thought the superiority of white people, I guess, at the time. So it's an odd dichotomy between like a nation being very racist, but at the same time being very pro-abolitionist. I guess didn't really happen so much.
It did. There were a lot of people in the North who still thought that Black people were should be secondhand citizens, but they didn't think they should be slaves.
Right. Which I think is basically what's happening in the UK.
Which is something we have trouble viewing now a lot of, that someone could be anti-slavery but still think they were better than someone with a different skin color.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what led to like the discrimination and segregation that was all over the US after slavery was abolished
and stuff. Yeah,
exactly. It wasn't just the pro-slavery states that had those awful laws. It was the country in general, which is
because a lot of people did head up north for better opportunities to escape those laws. And suddenly people who, they were like, oh yeah, everyone should have a chance. And then they realized that there were more Black people moving into their neighborhood, and they suddenly changed their tune.
Yeah.
And let their true racist colors flow.
Which, it'll be interesting in Victoria too, because I imagine that sort of dynamic would happen naturally, I guess, in Vicky, right? You emancipate a lot of slaves.
Well, yeah, they've got things here in the dev diary that say that generally when you've got slavery enabled, the only people that are going to be slaves are going to be those with a culture that you are not liking. I can't remember what the exact term for it is. Exactly. Discriminated against cultures, either from heritage or from language. So you get rid of slavery, you have your abolitionist movement succeed. The former slaves are still going to be discriminated against because they're still from their heritage hasn't changed, and now you've got a whole other bit of gameplay to take part in, where you have a large population of people who haven't had the opportunity to have a profession. They're basically uneducated because you had them as slaves, and you didn't exactly teach your slaves how to be machinists or engineers or any of the other jobs that you're going to want to get them into the workforce as.
Yeah.
So there's a big part of, it's not just about, I've now ended slavery and all of these slaves are now free and I can tax them. No, you now have the issue of you've got a large population that you need to get into the workforce and not just have as dependents.
And get them educated.
Yeah, bring them
Exactly.
up, get them socially accepted so they can work in higher value positions, I guess.
Well, because if you were a slave on a southern plantation, all you'd learn to do growing up was pick cotton.
Tobacco.
Yeah, that you're going to have real struggles trying to find something else to do.
Yeah, that's true. I think what the original plan, as far as I'm aware, and I'm very ignorant about American history, so correct me if I'm wrong, I guess, the plan was to give them plantations of their own, I guess, to work, and then basically as soon as the Civil War had ended, I think in the assassinated, they rolled back on that straight away.
We have Hercules here in chat saying, I'm hoping that a good handling of Reconstruction will be implemented.
Yeah.
And yes, if you go looking, the initial plans for Reconstruction in the South were much more idealistic than they became. So it's a whole, like, that could be a whole episode.
Yeah.
But it would be nice that if you could, at least start down that idealistic route in any country where you free the slaves, you end slavery, and then have to deal with the struggles of keeping it on that route, but still have the chance to actually do it.
And you get the rise of like terrorist organizations like the KKK and stuff.
That's going to be interesting when we get to the dev diary about that kind of radicalism, because I imagine it's going to be in.
Yeah.
I mean, you could invent terrorism in Victoria too.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure terrorism will exist.
Yeah,
and lynching,
sure.
That awful stuff of it.
Slightly different topic with Victoria 3, but I do like the screenshot we have here showing like tobacco plantations, the workforce.
Yes.
Yeah.
I like how clean it is. It's very easy to read.
They've certainly gotten better at tooltip legibility.
Yes.
Or just UI in general legibility since the earlier dev diaries.
Indeed, yes. Very
yeah,
much
we're going to take about 60% of the credit on that one. And then Gamma Day can take the remaining 40%.
I think the text scaling needs to be done, obviously. Afro-Caribbean Catholic slaves that flipping into.
Yeah.
I think that font needs to be toned down a lot.
Yeah.
Like, all of the capital letters have that kind of swooshy little thing to the left. If that was just like not there at all, I think that would be better.
That adds a lot of
I
space.
do like.
I'll just make it a smaller font.
But I'd still prefer to not have that.
I'm guessing the number next to wealthy, middling, impoverished tells us how much of the wealth they have.
Are you talking about the struggling 5?
Yeah, struggling 5, impoverished 13, middling 19.
Yeah, that is their standard of living score.
Oh, okay.
So it's a sliding scale from 0, which is starving, all the way to 100. But you're generally or more than likely never going to reach 100. Which is why wealthy is less than half.
Thanks. In terms of quality of life, wealthy in the 1800s is rather middling compared to now.
Yeah, true. I mean, I didn't.
What?
Trying to put it on a scale of from today, like I had no idea where we put things.
One interesting thing is obviously we know it's the quality of life increases and decreases birth rate, right? So quality of life increases, birth rate goes down. So slaves do get a bonus, I guess, to their pop growth, I guess, historical. So I guess if you're keeping slavery as an institution, which seems to me on a meta basis a bad idea, I guess you're going to become more and more problematic, right? Especially
it depends on what your economy is based on. Because if you have a very agricultural based economy, it would make sense if you ignore the kind of I don't want to keep slaves because it's disgusting. If you ignore that part, it is economically better if you wish to stay as an agricultural society.
Yeah.
If you have any ideals of industrializing, then of course it's not a good thing meta-wise.
Yeah. But you also have a problem, I guess, if you're playing. I guess Haiti at the start. No, because
Haiti had already revolted.
Yeah, but I think Napoleon went back and re-established slavery. I think,
The French re-established slavery. Although it was funny, there was a little bit of a conversation about that one. Because somewhere in the Dev Diary it says that no country had managed to reinstitute slavery after having abolished it. So Count Christo went and found a couple of examples, being the French in 1812, I want to say, and also the Chinese did it. I can't even begin to remember the date. But the conversation became, what does it mean to abolish slavery, and did the French actually succeed in abolishing it before reinstituting it?
Yeah.
And that would be a kettle of fish that with thorns.
But yeah, say if it was you're playing Haiti, I guess, or another Caribbean slave state, you're going to progressively get more problems with slave rebellions, I guess. As the population increases, people, you're basically like chattel. So I would have thought the meta would be to get away from it as quickly as possible, obviously, and industrialize and to adapt.
Though you're likely to face some kind of problems, like perhaps a civil war.
Yes, exactly,
because the people who are benefiting from having slaves are people with a lot of wealth and a lot of power and a lot of influence over your country.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
a lot of the everyday people fighting in the wars to preserve slavery quite often weren't benefiting from it in any way, shape, or form.
Exactly. I mean, that goes for most of the people in most wars.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think there's one final thing I want to talk on this Dev Diary, and that is the final image, which shows Lyman Beecher, who was a real person. He was a real abolitionist in the USA, which basically just confirms that it's not just historic leaders that will have characterization in Victoria 3, which is really cool. So if you think of other very important figures, we may end up seeing people like Bismarck, for example, not the leader of the country, but he is a massively influential politician of the era. We'll end up seeing him, and more. Very much looking forward to seeing more of these.
Yeah, I really hope we see Disraeli, Gladstone, Peel, all the big Victorians. Be cool. I hope we see all the better. Really.
For sure.
General. Cool. I hope they go into I guess in this time period, there's not many people being, I guess it'd be born in towards the end of the century. Maybe we'll see historically generated characters.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that.
Very much so.
Nothing to do with people, but we do have a hint about tomorrow's Dev Diary from Martin.
We do. In fact, we've got 2 hints, actually.
Yes, because Groogy decided to send one of his little hedgehogs towards us.
Yeah, Groogy was talking about the state modifiers, and he's going to be sharing a few more of these in the future. And he's just showing us Burmese teak giving a percentage boost to building with hardwood, but it also gives a negative state region infrastructure modifier, which is kind of cool. There's a bunch of these. We've already had, of course, the Great Lakes in the USA has been confirmed as one. We've had Siberia confirmed. We've had the Danube River confirmed as one. So yeah, the more of these, the merrier. Though I do have an issue with some that we've seen, like for instance in Lombardy, there is a negative modifier to infrastructure because of the Alps, but the majority of Lombardy is a incredibly flat plain, and it is just the northern most edge of Lombardy, which is alpine. Which so I don't think that particular one makes sense, but maybe there's going to be a pass over things, and hopefully that one is one that will change.
Yeah, I do have an exclusive here, I guess. Welsh Valleys is one.
Yeah,
we have an extra coal.
Extra coal?
I think it was. Yeah.
Oh, sick! Nice.
So that's it. Years of campaigning, I guess, at Paradox has paid off. endlessly boring people about the chemistry and importance of Welsh coal and different types of coal have paid off finally.
Yeah.
Yeah, modify
this. I mean, you can take like 100% of this credit. Yeah, for sure. And then tomorrow we'll have a dev diary, all about states and how they work. And we've got an image of Brittany here, which also shows homelands, which I think is going to be like the replacement for the core region system. So in Brittany, the people who have a homeland or a core on this region maybe is the French and the Bretons. So yeah, Breton Free Independent People movement. When? Now? Yeah, let's go.
Yeah.
Do it.
Interesting, yeah. I guess Breton language is probably dead by now anyway.
No, they still have a distinct. Yeah, it's a Celtic French, I guess. But it is still distinct. It's like the only region of France that kind of survived the Frenchification during the. I mean, it was in the late 1700s, early 1800s that was occurring.
Yeah, it's a Brythonic language. I know that it's very, very close to Welsh, which is unlike Irish and Gaelic. Are nothing like Welsh actually. As much as they get lumped in as Celts, like the two languages are very, very different. Scottish and Irish very, very similar. Welsh very much similar to Cornish. And
it used to be the same language until the Anglo-Saxons took the separated the two pieces of land over the sea. Like that I do find that kind of thing fascinating, where like you got the same language, but then you've just lost a land border, and now your languages are going to drift apart. That's kind of what happened there. And then with Brittany, they were Celtic refugees from conquered Britain. So it's like, it's interesting, the history of that place.
And CK2 and CK3, they're the same culture group as Wales and Ireland.
Yeah, they should be. Yeah, that makes sense.
I would think, I think the culture groups in the EU4. I think the Welsh culture is like the same culture group as the English.
It is. Because the way the culture works in EU4 is, it's all based on gameplay. I remember the massive outrage from Turks when Turkish was put into the Arabian group or Arab Levantine. Massive outrage. But I mean, that's it. What is culture? What makes up culture? I like the way that Vicky 3 is doing it, whereas it's both heritage and language. And you can discriminate against one, both, or neither. In EU4, just having culture is reductive, and so. Well, I very much like the way that Victoria is doing things.
This is like the period, I guess, in Welsh history when basically when modern Wales was invented, I guess, through industrialisation. Well, in the south of Wales, anyway. As you don't know, like it's a big north-south divide in Wales. North is very much like an old Celtic place, and it wasn't very industrialised. It was a slate mine industry, which was very big, but it was mostly Welsh speakers working there. It's a very weird thing. We didn't really fight for rights in the same way that South Wales did. South Wales was very militant and very passionate about fighting for people's rights, whereas in so much so.
I imagine that's why those ended up getting shipped off to Australia to create New South Wales.
I don't think
which includes the town of Tweed.
But anyway, like in South Wales, I guess people became more. People started speaking English because it was the lingua franca. And there was obviously oppression, like the Welsh not, I guess, but the driving force in South Wales, which is the reason why the Welsh not failed in the North Wales, because people working in slate mines mostly spoke Welsh. They didn't have to speak English, didn't have any English people working there, or people from elsewhere in the world, a lot of Italians in Wales. And it turns out speaking in different languages, Italian, English, Irish or whatever, in a coal mine turns out to be quite dangerous, so workers tend not to do it.
Yeah.
Can't start gas in 4 different languages. Hope to survive, can you? Yeah. So I guess the next one is CK3. I guess I can't think of no segue. But,
speaking of gas, what happens when
you blow hot air at your leash?
Yeah, exactly.
Nailed it.
There you go. Speaking of gas, what happens when you blow hot air at your liege in order to try and get them to do what you want? But you know, they just ain't doing it.
So Rose, I haven't.
Somebody in chat also asked, wasn't it legal to speak Welsh? No, it wasn't. In school, you got punished.
It should have been.
Yeah, I agree now too. Actually, bloody Welsh.
Oh, but I like watching Avex videos and hearing him throw in random Welsh words for like butterflies.
I'm a dyslexic who went through the Welsh school system and therefore have a guttural hatred of the Welsh language.
Okay, fair enough.
All right, lieges and lords and stuff. What's up here?
All right. So, if you are stuck as a vassal, I mean, not stuck, maybe you want to play as a vassal because you want to have that experience in CK3. As long as your liege is a king/queen or emperor/empress, then you can petition them, which is what they're showing us here. Petitions cost prestige. You could sort of do this in CK2. It was a decision that you could maybe get, but there wasn't really much to it. It was basically the same amount of the decision as, change culture, essentially. Didn't do very much.
Click button, get thing.
Yeah. So they show us some here, like council appointment. You want to petition to get on the council. You want to settle your debt. You want to be granted a claim or transfer a claim. I'm guessing you would think claim would be they give you a claim to a title, but it says grant claim title, so I'm a little confused about why they called it grant claim.
Probably if you say have a claim on a county and then you're asking your liege to give you that county.
Yeah.
If they have it.
And that would be one they have. If transfer claim, it means someone already has it and they probably won't be very happy at you for taking it from them.
Yeah.
Or maybe the liege has it and you're asking them, can I have the claim that you have?
Yeah.
Well, grant claim is that one.
Grant claim, yeah. I think transfer claim is like, say, another vassal owns the land you've got a claim on.
So let's say the three of us were playing a multiplayer game and Loris was the king. Lambert and I are both dukes. And Lambert has a title that I also have a claim on. I could petition Loris to give me that title, and he could steal it away he could revoke it from Lambert if we have that law in our kingdom.
Right, and if I get
title revocation is enabled.
Some way.
Yep. Which, if it was, then Loris could just yoink it away from Lambert. Maybe he might rebel, but he could take it away.
Yeah.
And he could just grant it to me, and then Lambert would be very torqued off at both of us.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe there's like a sort of a tyranny mark.
I'm sure there is, because title revocation gives you tyranny, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's probably also going to be a case of if Loris has a title that you want.
Yeah, that's grant claims. There's two different ones here.
Yeah.
So if Loris had a title that I wanted, I could say, hey, that's mine.
There's also, like, if Loris has a claim, he doesn't own the land, but if he has a claim, maybe he can give you the claim. Like, you don't get any land out of it.
Oh, you
just get the claim.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Possibly.
Except it says gives or grant claimed title.
Yeah, that seems like it's a title that already exists that you have. Whereas, I mean, there's a difference between owned titles and claimed titles. I think that's going to be the difference here. And it might be also why transfer claim is grayed out, because maybe the king doesn't have a claim or doesn't have any claims here. He only has land that he owns.
Nice idea, Lambert, but down below we have a Chopmist content designer saying grant claim is the liege's title while authority is a fellow vassals. Transfer also requires enough authority to allow title revocation and will not exactly be received well by the vassal relieved of their title if granted.
Okay. Maybe it could be a little bit clearer. I mean, I guess there's maybe tooltips.
Yeah, probably.
The fact that it's called grant claim is I wish it should be grant title or transfer title.
Yeah.
Honestly, my opinion right there.
Yeah, because I guess for title, well, it sounds different what the description of it is. The interesting one for me, I think, is dismantle faction, which is not a power the Liege has. So how would that work? You ask the Liege to dismantle a different faction, and what
I
can the Liege do?
don't know how that would work.
Seems...
There's also realm peace. There's other ones in there. Maybe there might be one that's like press acclaim.
Yeah, I could see that one being a thing.
Realm peace seems fine. Yeah, press acclaim if it's a foreign power, right?
I would guess there's a press acclaim in there somewhere. And if there isn't, there should be.
Yeah,
because it's really annoying when you have a claim on a county belonging to a duchy sitting right next to your kingdom, and your kingdom has more troops, but the dude won't press the claim for you to grow his own kingdom. It's really annoying.
Go to war with this person for me.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I think.
But see, you grow your realm too, which grows your tax base.
Go to war with HRE. You could use it to weaken your liege, right? You go, hey, go to war with HRE for me. He goes, sure. And then the Duke of Tuscany goes off to war with HRE.
With any luck, the king will be able to say, yeah, nah.
Yeah, that's a bit silly, yeah.
Well, and that's the thing. That happened in CK2 a lot. They added the feature where you would get random requests from someone to go press a claim they had on a county.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh yeah, I'm little tiny Venice, which we have a lot of troops, but you have a claim on this county in the middle of the Umayyads, and you want me to go fight their 40,000 troops?
No, I had that a lot.
No.
I've got a claim
but the AI would always say yes to it. And so you'd get attacked by a little tiny duchy from across the map when you're a giant empire and be like,
why?
In what world did you think you would win?
Yeah. And you can't.
Hopefully that doesn't become an issue here.
And you'd have your armies raised, fighting off some other war somewhere else, and then the whole point about you can't attack somebody when you've got your armies raised, so you always have to be defending from this tiny little duchy who just doesn't take no for an answer. It's just a pain. It's just pain.
I had baronies declare war on me randomly because of that, because they got a courtier who had a random claim and they pressed it. And they were a barony inside of an empire on the other side of the planet. They couldn't even get their troops to me because they needed ships. They didn't have ships. I won a 100% war score for holding the land before they even got their troops to me. It was pretty ridiculous.
Yeah, so hopefully the king will be able to say no.
Yeah, I think basically.
And that is something they say here, is that the king or emperor will say no based on if they like you or they don't like you, their personality. It says your personality, stress gain, and your relationship will all play a role.
And how ludicrous their request is.
I would hope so. If you're asking them to go fight someone who's got 4 times as many troops, hopefully they'll just say, "Oh no, hell no."
Yeah, exactly.
You can grant homages, I guess. Pretty interesting.
You're a kitty cat.
Granting homages to your liege. Basically, you can be a massive brown nose.
They do have a chance you can get a second opinion. So if they initially say no, then you can try and sway somebody to help you.
The
lead could make a counter offer by saying, sure, I'll transfer you that title if you give me a favor hook or this much gold.
This is the equivalent of I've gone to ask Mum if I can have a new toy, and she says no, so you go to Dad. That's basically what you do, isn't it?
Go ask your mother.
Yeah.
But I think this is pretty cool, and I like the images we're getting of the court.
Yeah, it's looking a lot better.
It is improved for sure.
And they do clarify down in the comments. We have Oxykun saying that she believes it was tried to have AI vassals petition anyone outside of Hold Court, but it got extremely spammy. Because they just did it every time they wanted.
Yeah, yeah.
So to get petitions, if you're playing the leader, to get petitions from your vassals, you have to actually hold court.
Yeah, yeah.
So you don't get spammed.
If I'm not in
speaking
my
of-
court, you shouldn't be able to, just barge your way into my court. I'm not
I
there.
mean, apparently we're holding court, and
Mordred,
Mordred
yeah.
Viking has barged in with a bunch of Vikings.
Yeah, yeah.
That guy.
I hope
That actual guy.
This must be a French
Speaking
court.
of, yeah, I wanted to talk about this, a very related subject, actually. I hope we get to see some of the pagan courts, I guess. I want to see a Viking longhouse. And
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, I want to see.
Mhm.
I'd be very disappointed if we saw the Vikings having, stone-walled, bloody, Western European looking court.
Yeah,
I don't think they will, unless it's appropriate for that era, because like we see down here, we definitely have one that's Middle Eastern.
Yeah.
And they've done really well previously of having the different backgrounds, from our loading screen.
Yeah.
Or not loading screen, our main menu screen.
I mean, I think they have said they are going to do it. I'm looking forward to seeing it as a thing. I mean, like a judge. I want to basically.
I would imagine various Norse nations are like up there on most popular countries to play as.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I think there's a reason they planned that first flavor pack as a.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't think they're going to pass over, Norse longhouses. I think that's going to be. It's just interesting they haven't shown us it yet.
Tribal's not allowed to hold court. Apparently, is that true? I think actually no. I think you're right. I think I do recall reading that.
Yeah, but I think they still have a courtroom.
Yeah,
they can't hold court though. They still have a place to store their items.
Yeah,
being able to hold court and having a court is a bit different.
Yeah.
Yep. Also, Lambert, I think you need your heart ripped out today. When I saw your name, I initially thought, "Ooh, yay, Imperator news!" Forgot I was on the CK3 forum. Strim Trigula replying, "Yeah, also used to be on that game. In fact."
Yeah. No, it looks cool. Looking forward to more info, more screenshots. I do like this. It adds a lot of flavor, especially if you're playing
you're playing a vassal run. Honestly, I like doing a vassal run sometimes.
Yeah.
See how large you can grow inside.
Well, I don't like blobbing in CK. Also, I think once I get a good French border, for example, as France, I would like to be like, I want to have a grand court and impress everyone with my court and have finest wines. The most luxurious jester.
Putting your family on other thrones is always my favorite way to play.
Well, this is also more the vassal run, which maybe you're putting your second cousin on the throne of France and you're playing as the Duke behind the scenes and you're petitioning them to give you all this stuff because, you're the head of the family.
Yeah, plays a kingmaker. Yeah, that's always a fun playthrough. I like doing that in the HRE quite a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, cool. Looking forward to more of that.
I would think if you played this in the HRE or you played this in any empire and you were a queen, then you could get petitions, but still ask your empress for petitions.
Yeah.
Which would mean the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Again, I can't think of a segue.
I mean,
it would have been great for if it went straight from Vicky to this one, because I know a lot about the Victorian history around this time period around in this area of the world. But we're talking about Ethiopia, essentially.
I mean, we're talking about courts, and now we're going to talk about exotic zoos and bringing giraffes. So put a giraffe in your court. It'd be a lovely, lovely, relic to keep.
It's a conversation starter, certainly. I think.
Yes.
You went over someone's house.
Speaking of segues, we don't have one for this.
And then you'll never lose your giraffe, even when they die.
Ethiopia. It's really interesting. I quite like this one. It's just more of a mission tree with lots of interesting bits of history. I know a little bit. I don't know much about African history pre-Victorian period, but I do know that during the Victorian period, in the Gulf of Aden and around Ethiopia, the same water works that were established here by this nation, and I don't know if anyone wants to attempt to pronouncing it. Adjuran.
Yeah, sure, good enough.
Yeah. We're still being used in the modern day, right? So They were basically very renowned for their ability to do amazing waterworks. Pretty cool. Cool little registry. It's got a bit about that. Got a bit about trades, which they did, because of course Horn of Africa trade was huge.
Yeah, I mean it was huge back before Roman times as well.
Yeah. I mean, famously there was a very good expansion pack for Rome Total War, I think, which fleshed out them. There's even stuff about China. Now, China's interaction with it, it's part of the Great Voyages of Zhang He, which I'm sure most people who are interested to know about. But if you don't know, basically Zhang He was an explorer, Ming Dynasty, who had massive ships, went around the world. One of the places he went was Horn of Africa. And there's a great picture, if you want to look it up. If you're watching live, I guess you can see it on screen now. But look it up. There's a picture of a giraffe that he got from Horn of Africa. He also got zebras and hippos and stuff, and for the royal menagerie. So there's a great Ming Dynasty picture of a fella with a giraffe on a lead. It's a very, very long lead, obviously, because it goes around the muzzle of the giraffe. And he's like looking up with his like he's holding a balloon essentially. And I've always loved this image. It's great, isn't it? He's got this expression on his face, so it's a mixture of like, what the fuck is this? And like, what am I supposed to be doing also with his like body language. It's very good. Look that up if you're listening. Great. But yes, that's also a feature in this. A giraffe for the heaven. And also, they mentioned that the event art is still in production, and I hope they recreate that image. I really do, of the guy holding the giraffe, thinking, what am I supposed to be doing? With this?
Well, the problem with that is the event art is very landscape.
Yes, yeah.
And giraffes are very tall.
Have a giraffe like with its head neck down, with a guy pulling it like a tug of war. That would be good. Yeah, it's they get a new
formable as well, it seems.
Yes. Well, Ethiopia's a formable, I believe, right?
Yeah. You start like they exist at the start of the game, but I think there are a few countries that can form Ethiopia. But Ethiopia, I don't believe, ever had a formable. And now they have the Solomonic Empire or Solomonic Kingdom, I think. One of the two. Which is cool. I love formable nations. I think it's always a good thing to do.
Yeah.
It gives you a goal.
Yeah. And you get that endorphin rush when you click a button and your flag changes and the color changes.
As long as the flag changes something good and it's not some British freaking Republic garbage.
Yeah.
Never gonna get over it. It looks terrible.
Yeah. It's not era appropriate. Much as I love the
it's just also just not appropriate in general.
Yeah, it's just put the suffragette flag in.
It's awful.
The saltiness will never leave Lambert over this.
I mean, correct.
I wish there was some variation on having tricolours.
No.
Doesn't make sense.
I mean, Vicky too has Republican Great Britain, and it's. I mean, you never want to do it because it's shit. But like, it's not a terrible looking flag.
I don't know what the flag looks like actually.
It's got the. I'll look it up.
Yeah, but it's another thing I love. Unique government forms. I mean, it's one of the things I really love about Ambanar is different types of unique things. Certainly when you're like.
Here we go again.
When you're playing with vampires and you get the Midnight Monarchy, it's like something very satisfying. Or even if you're playing Wine Port and you get the Wine Trader unique government. Cool. It just adds a little bit of flavour and roleplay to your playthrough, which is always very satisfying. yeah, but I like it. You also start with a debuff, I guess. As a decentralized nation, you have to centralize. Gives you a little bit of gold too. And then a system that was very similar to. Have you ever played in Italy? I guess in EU4 since a few recent patches, where they started to get the Italian war modifier and the mercenary companies.
Yeah, that you ended up getting a bunch of new mercs. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah.
So we have Dogberry pointing out we couldn't even make it an hour without an Ambinar reference. I mean, in fairness, this is the EU4 segment.
Yeah.
Oh, he says that when we're at 59, 56.
Yeah, didn't quite make it.
It's fine. Abadar's so good.
Also, I looked up the fucking British flag when you turn into a republic, and it's perfect.
Is it?
It's actually the best flag ever. You don't know why it's the best flag ever?
Why is that?
Because it don't fucking change.
It doesn't change. I
could have sworn it changed. Oh man.
Well, it makes sense if it doesn't change, to be honest, because it's not a monarchist flag; it's a saint flag, right? And
yeah, I guess.
You know,
I guess it's just I do like that it's called United Kingdom Republic.
No, Kingdom Republic.
Oh god.
Cool.
That is rather funny. I think maybe I was thinking of maybe a mod that I was playing for Vicky that added new flags. I can't remember which one now. I'm fairly sure it's something with green in it.
Yes, I think it's
HFM or HPM. Yeah, exactly. I think I was thinking of those.
Yeah, I think it's like green, red, and white. I think.
Yeah, it's got like it's quartered in like a diagonal way as well.
I think which might be the Chartist flag, possibly. It doesn't make much sense because Chartists were still monarchists.
I don't know.
Sorry,
Oh, I think I found it.
They're on a hunt.
I really am.
Yeah, but yeah, so you get the mercenary stuff, I guess, because as these screenshots in the dev diary show, the Ottomans doing very well. Historically, we're the allies of one side, and the Portuguese were the ally of the others, and on my playthroughs, Spain has almost just about eaten all of Portugal, so not a reliable thing, I guess. So instead, they implemented mercenaries. So you get a boost in your army professionalism and a bit of army tradition, and you get a new mercenary company, either the Ottoman Janissaries or the Portuguese musketeers. And the Janissaries get their normal bonus, which is the shock fire damage reduction, and the Portuguese get an increase in combat ability. That's cool. I do like these new mercenary companies in general. I think they work really well. They're fun. They're especially fun in the Italia wars. They're very fun in Ambinar, where you get unique
always.
when you're playing as like a midnight monarchy and you get like the dread knights or whatever is the unique mercenaries you get, or you get the unique mercenaries as the that's what's it called. As the emperor. I think the Pope in the base game gets unique Swiss Guard, right? So,
yeah, he does.
Which is cool. I like that.
Yeah, more unique things are always great.
Yeah, it adds flavor, and even if you don't use it, I think the increase in flavor is very good. It's like when you're playing Russia, I guess, and you get the Cossacks, and you don't get many Cossacks, but you know having Cossack regiments feel good. And they don't make a massive difference. They're cool to have, you know. Same with banner stuff. Having a load of banner infantry, although banners are objectively amazing, you know, it's just really nice to have. Speaking of which, they do get unique regiments also, similar to the Janissaries, Beltsy banners. The Cower bounce got increased discipline. a better reinforce, a higher reinforcement. Yeah, pretty cool. Any thoughts about this dev diary, I guess?
We'll see how all of this changes Anbana.
Yes, yeah.
The only reason Lambert still even opens up EU4 is to play
Honestly,
Anbanar.
not wrong at this point. I am very much ready for the next game.
Yeah.
I want EU5. It's time.
Well, I remember
I won't disagree with that.
a lot of the discussion around Hearts of Iron, I guess, is how best what we're most excited for in implementing in Kaiserreich, I guess, for new stuff from No Step Back, which is cool.
Yeah, I think it's time. I definitely think it's time that we get it. Yeah. Or overtime, maybe.
Yeah, we didn't have any Hoy this week, did we?
Hoy's just a recap of what we've previously talked about. But it's cool. It's cool. Hopefully soon. I'm really dying to try out those tutor trains. I think it adds a lot more dynamic. Stellaris, I guess. Have you two had a chance to play the new patch?
Yeah, we both did.
Oh, brilliant.
We both were blessed by PDX to play on their Steam channel.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
What did you end up playing as? Did DJ give you something to do?
No. I started as the new plants. Or, plants because Rose. It seemed fitting. But I decided, let's do a pacifist run and, try and be diplomatic and stuff. Everyone in the galaxy was militarist of some source, or xenophobe, or both. We died.
So they were playing Stellaris properly, and you weren't, and therefore you died.
Yeah, so we did a second run that we started as militarist clones, the clone start for the humanoids.
Oh, yeah.
Which is...
I was asked not to play as clones. I think that may have been a few people that played clones and maybe broke the game a bit. So I was like, all right, I want you to play Necroid. He wanted me to do the Necroids and also Hive Mind. Everything else was up to me as long as I didn't pick clones.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, you also played later. I was the first person to go live with it.
Yeah.
Which, let me tell you, that was a little nerve-wracking because it was like, I'm not showing up. And they're like, yeah, we're still working on it. It's not showing up. I'm supposed to start. Am I doing okay? Is it me?
It is incredibly stressful when you're first, for sure.
Yeah. It was
like I've heard second hand. Again, I haven't had a chance to play it, sadly. No, friends haven't been free to play it. But I've heard there's balance problems so far.
I did. When I went with the Necroid Hive Mind, I also did the Civic that means half of your food comes from energy, or your upkeep for your pops. You use less food, you do a little bit of energy. And also I did the one where you use food to make alloys. And that combination is broken overpowered.
Yes, yeah.
Because your subservient pops as a Necroid, you just turn them into livestock, infinite food.
Yeah.
You use less food, and then you use food to make alloys. It is beyond broken overpowered, and I loved it.
I hear this machinist can turn food into alloys too, right?
Yeah, Ace Pick did a thing on that.
Yeah.
They don't turn food into alloys. They turn thin air into
exactly
alloys.
Right.
It's interesting playing the clone start because you can only have your clones on 5 planets.
Yeah.
Max. And you start with 2 of the ancient clone vats on your home planet, so you'd have to destroy one or dismantle it to move it somewhere else because you can only build 5.
Right.
Clearly, one of those planets has to be called Camino.
Yes.
Because each vat protect or sustains 20 clones.
Right.
And if you take it off, then your clones will start to decline.
Right.
Which is interesting. So you kind of have to build tall in terms of planets. But when we ended up getting a slave, we ended up finding a slave race and turned them into, production for us, so we could actually fill out, and then we would just add the high level jobs. But that was the only way to really do it. You need slaves pretty much if you're doing a clone start.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Or you just don't have enough pops because you're limited to 100 pops. That's it.
Yeah. I remember. So yeah, you can't get into late game with 100 pops, right?
No, and every 20 pops uses a building slot.
Yeah.
Or robots. Yeah, you could do robots.
Yes, robots. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Yeah, cool.
Mm-hmm. Which I did think about, but we found the slaves for free, so.
Which is the origin word of robot, I guess, isn't it? Something poetic about it.
Yep.
I'll actually be playing that run tomorrow again.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm thinking of doing another multiplayer where I'll use the same thing that I used in the Steam run.
Mm-hmm. It's definitely fun. I want to play more Stellaris right now. It's nice having all the new stuff.
Yeah. And a lot of the issues regarding how the game just slows down towards the end game have apparently been fixed. A lot of the desync issues have apparently been fixed.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think another Stellaris multiplayer is on the cards for me soon.
The con is also terrifying.
Always has been.
No, it feels... I don't know. He came alive with the Satropes, and I and another Empire joined him because we were right on the border and we were about to get eaten. And the other Empire hates me. They always have. The Khan ate everyone else in the galaxy, except us. And then he promptly died, and it broke into a bunch of little groups, which is where I left it last week.
Yeah, little succession states. I don't think I've ever seen the Khan pop for ages, actually.
Lambert and I know about the Khan from...
Yeah.
Yeah, that was what, 2 years ago now? Year and a half ago? I was pregnant when we played that multiplayer. The Crater... What was it called? The Paradox event.
Cold War?
The Cold War, yes.
Yeah.
That was it.
This is a very mother thing too, I found. Like, when you have a kid, I guess, Rose, you work on mother time, right? Which is basically you rank time by the point of
pre-Rosebud and post-Rosebud.
Yeah, and how many months old your child is. It's like, when was that? It must have been when Rosebud was like 4 months old, and that's how you work out time. Every mother I know works on that time scale.
It doesn't work for fathers.
Well, those first 2 to 3 years, the kids like grow so quickly and develop skills so quickly that there's a huge difference typically between a 14-month-old and a 16-month-old.
Yeah.
Even though it's only 2 months. Now, some kids at 16 months are doing the same thing as the 14-month-old or vice versa, but on average, what your kid was doing at 14 months versus 16 months is a huge world of difference.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Which makes sense. It's a good chronological, I guess. Some words. Chronograph.
But after somewhere between 24 and 36 months, I'm going to stop counting the months.
You're going to start, yeah. That's it, and then that's it. You'll lose all track of time. You'll have no idea what the time is anymore. How long ago something was. But...
Yeah, and then a couple of months after they turn 5, they're now 5.5.
Yeah. Before you know it, they're going to university and you just don't know what's going on. I think that's how age works, I think, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's it for our news. I can't think of anything else. We haven't done anything.
There's a humankind update.
Yes, there was a patch, right?
Yeah, apparently it's very good. It certainly helped with a bunch of multiplayer desync issues.
Yeah,
which is nice because there was a lot of them. There was a hell of a lot of them.
Yeah, I didn't have any problems, but I was only playing on with as a 2-player game, so
we were doing 8, and it was a struggle.
No, I think I was told that. I think when I got the keys, it was going to be a bit. Sometimes some larger players, but I was just playing. No problem.
Yeah, I do think it is. It's definitely getting better.
Yeah.
And it is relatively quick to get back into the game after it's fucked up, right? It's not like it takes a lot shorter amount of time to fix it than it does for a Paradox game.
Or Civ.
I would never played multiplayer Civ, to be honest.
You know, one thing I do have problems with is how hard it is to place the space station stuff.
Yeah, it takes an element of pre-planning for those.
It does.
Yeah, and it's because each one uses so much space around it. It's like, wouldn't you just keep like at least a few of them would be upgrading your initial site?
A few of them are. You can use the same site for satellite launches and lunar launches. I think it's the ones where you're testing nuclear bombs have to be in separate locations.
Mm-hmm.
I found that like that's at least with Endless Legend, it was just Opus butter. I think it had a few decent issues in early development, but my goodness, if you ever play Endless Legend, which I think is still possibly my favorite. I do like Humankind a hell of a lot, but I think
they've done a lot of changes with pollution. So
yes, it's no longer basically a game.
Now we capture pollution, which is good.
Yeah.
And because I think I had at least like several games end because of pollution.
I had a game end because I finished all of the science all of the technologies when I still had maybe about 20 techs still to research. But it's because I went and I opened the tech tree itself and like clicked the final techs and ignored the ones that I hadn't done yet. So I still had like 20 left, but I'd done the 4 final techs.
Oh.
Look, when you become the French and you're able to do the final techs in a single turn, it makes sense to do it that way. But it also, I think the game kind of didn't like it. So.
And I hope they fix. I don't know if they have in here. There's a lot, but I hope they fix the Steam achievements.
Yeah, I've seen both ways actually, because there was on release a bunch of people got achievements that they never earned, and then also there's some achievements that were impossible to get and just for no reason.
I had, because I played quite a bit of this when I was at my grandfather's out of town for those 2 weeks. And I definitely did the 18 scientist stars.
Yeah, I did the 18
builder stars.
Yeah.
And yet I'm stuck on 16 and 17 in the Steam achievements.
Yeah, exactly the same for me on that one. But for the builder stars. I mean, I transcended as Egypt. Through the entire game. You think I didn't get the bloody the error stars for that? Madness.
Yeah.
I did a transcendence run as well, not a transcendence run, but I went with science civs throughout the entire game as well, Greeks and Babylon into Greek kind of thing. And I didn't get the science star, and I was like, dude, I got 21 science stars. I think it's 21 is the max. And 18 is the biggest achievement. Or is it? No, I think I'm wrong on that one. But
no,
like,
18 is the biggest because there's 3 stars for each level.
And it's like, mate, I did it. Just give me the achievement.
That's always a nightmare when achievements just don't register, because like, you work hard towards it and then like it doesn't pop and it's such a terror.
There's still a broken achievement in Imperator, which I mean, I would say the devs know, but Imperator doesn't have any devs. But like it was reported on the forums, and Snow Crystal responded like, yeah, we know exactly how to fix this, but we're not gonna.
Yeah,
because there's no one to put the push the patch out.
Well, I wonder if there's a Wiki patch, like years later a patch came out. Wiki,
I really hope that is the case. Just like it's literally a one-line fix.
You know what? I think would be the hardest achievement to get. The star is my destination.
Is that the one to get every final era star?
Win a game by accumulating all era stars.
Yeah, no, that's bullshit. It's not gonna happen.
I could think of. Yeah.
You get into the final era, and then you need to get all of the stars without getting to the end of the game or researching all the techs. Or killing everybody, or blowing the world up, or going to space on Mars.
Well, even earlier, like even if you play on the easiest difficulty, things like trying to get all the expansionist stars.
That has been slightly fixed.
Yeah,
they've made it a lot easier.
Well, it's not even that. There was a map where I was trying to do that. I counted towards the end, and I'd been, hitting the mark every time and just not going beyond it with each era. And by the second to last era, the last era, it was a smaller map. It wasn't huge, but it scales.
Yeah.
And I could not there were not enough territories on the entire map that were not water. You'd have to play, maybe you'd have to play on an entire land one, but even then it scales by how much land there is.
Yeah.
So it was like impossible.
Yeah, I think I think even Genius had like a few legit impossible.
100% in that game is going to be almost impossible. I do have 59% of the achievements though.
Mm-hmm. I have 57.
Oh, damn it.
I think I've got many achievements.
Possess 20 nuclear weapons. I'm at 19 out of 20, and now I hate myself. I just needed one more.
You just needed one more. You didn't realize it.
It's funny as well. The one for getting expansionist era stars in a single game, I've got 3 out of 18.
Yeah.
Well, wonderful. Build every cultural wonder out of several games. Does y'all say 0 out of 4,194,303? That's a lot of cultural wonders.
What's the achievement called again?
Wonderful.
We've got a question. It's like, what's your favorite part of humankind? I think for me, personally, it's the Neolithic era. Still, I just love how innovative and new that starting system is. I love it.
Yes. I would honestly spend too long in the Neolithic period because I just like it.
Yeah, I'm sure there's like a meta to the Neolithic, but I love you start off as a little tribe and you basically fight for your food and explore the world, and something really fun that breaks away from the old 4X turn-based strategies, which is you have to settle basically what you start, maybe with a few turns. Okay.
Yeah, because if you, like in Civ, if you wait more than like one turn, you're screwed pretty much, unless you're on a really easy difficulty.
Yeah, because those first few turns are so essential. I mean, it's pretty essential in humankind, but I feel like the feel of it is a far more relaxed. Well, I wouldn't say it's relaxed. I guess it's still quite frantic trying to find your food and stuff and looking around, but it's something a lot more fun about that than like, oh, I start here with a settler, plonk, fun, you know.
I think my favorite part of humankind is a little bit impossible right now. I really, really enjoy the late game combat when you have aircraft carriers, anti-air guns, bombing other cities and all that. That is like so much fun. But the AI is utterly fucking terrible at doing any of it.
Yeah.
So that would be my favorite part if the AI were capable. I'm looking forward to when my multiplayer game gets to that stage.
Yeah.
I'll let you know if it's still as fun as I hope it's going to be.
You know what? I wish you could turn off the time limit.
Yeah, I mean, there is a mod that does that. What we're planning on doing, or what I'm going to force our multiplayer game to do, is ignore that time limit. I think it's pure shit. It makes no sense to have, we're here with 300 turns or 450 turns or whatever you're playing on. And now, even if none of the other, actual win conditions have been met, fuck you, the game's ended.
I've only ever played it on like the longest time setting, actually. I just enjoy it.
I do that, but it also changes the amount of things you need, like the amount of pops you need to get an agrarian star, the amount of science you need to get a science star, and all this kind of thing.
And expansionist. I think that might have been my problem too, as I was playing on the one, not the highest, the one above, the one below that.
Right.
Yeah, I can't remember what they're called.
It's slow and epic, I think, is it? Or
Endless is the highest one as well.
Endless.
But yeah, like there is an issue with that for sure.
I don't know. I really like humankind.
Yeah, and the devs are like the recent patch was fucking gargantuan.
Yeah. I mean, the devs have always been on the ball. Amplitude Studios is legit, I think, the best upcoming strategy developer in the market. Like I was a huge fan of Endless Legend. Humankind is better than Civ has been in years and years and years, as far as I'm concerned. I really look forward to the modding, which they're very open about, unlike a lot of developers now.
I just wish they'd use the workshop instead of using this third-party site. It's just, I mean, I understand the reason for it is so that Game Pass can access mods at the same level as people on Steam, but it's taking something away from people on Steam.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not giving anything back. I really don't like it. The workshop should be open. I don't think there's any excuse for it.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mind because it's a very integrated system of games together stuff.
Oh, it's definitely not. There's still, like, to use that no turns mod, you have to go to the site. You have to. It's literally the old way of doing it, where you download the mod, and then you have to put the mod in the folder that you need it to be in. Yeah. Because at the moment there is no, I've signed up to this mod on this website and now just let it launch.
Never play The Sims, Lambert, because that's what The Sims 4 has to do.
Yeah. This is the old way of doing things. We have a workshop now.
Yeah.
We have a workshop now. It shouldn't be using antiquated systems to get mods to work. There's no need for it.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still an old fogey. I'm still used to like dragging stuff in folders.
Yeah, I mean, I can do it. I mean, I've played fucking Skyrim before the Nexus mod manager was a thing. Yeah. I'm very capable of getting the mods to work. I just don't think that right now, with the workshop being as good as it is, that there is any need for it. I don't think there's a justification for it.
Yeah, maybe they'll implement it in the future. Hopefully, we'll get somebody from Amplitude on at some point.
Yes, though.
Yeah, that'd be great.
We do need to wrap up today.
Yes, yeah. So I guess we should probably talk about what we've been doing. Rose, what have you been up to?
Settling back into town. But I will be playing some Stardew Valley tonight, and I will be streaming streaming Stardew Valley, of course, but I'll be streaming some Stellaris tomorrow, and we'll see about some more streams this weekend.
What is Stardew or base game?
Base game multiplayer.
Cool.
Very nice.
We are in spring of year 2. The community center just got finished.
Nice, brilliant.
Yeah. And so we're about to work on the witchy stuff and all that extra stuff. Like, Willie just messaged us about the boat, so we're about to get all the new content with the island, which I've never been to. So that's exciting.
That's new to me as well. I've not seen that yet.
I should play some more. I've got a real itch for that. It's that and like modded Minecraft, I think. A bit of an itch for back into those.
Modded Minecraft hasn't been good since 1.5.2. It's the best version.
All right, well, Lambert, what have you been up to?
I have been playing some Humankind multiplayer. Do that every Friday. I had a new Imperator Rome community multiplayer start where I'm playing as Frisia, the Germanics, and I'm going to form England a few centuries early. Which it's kind of a good job that Leanna isn't here today, because she would definitely be ribbing me about playing as the Germanics after I've said that nobody really likes playing as them.
She'll have things to say when she edits this, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure she will. So I'm playing that, and every Monday I play D&D over on the Component Cast channel, and that's a hell of a lot of fun as well. And yeah, other people in that actually, Mordred, who raided us earlier, and Midgeman. So I've got a couple of Paradox people in that game. But yeah, just stuff and things and chugging along.
And what have you been up to, Loris?
Bit of housework. I've also been playing a lot of a new city builder. I guess that's adjacent to strategy. I think we've always talked about it a bit.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic new city builder out called Timberborn.
Yeah, I've seen a bunch of people playing that.
It's really good. It's early access at the moment, but from the content that's in the game, it's brilliant at the moment. It's all about terraforming, building dams for like a sort of little beaver civilization. You get cogs and things, and you have to like have an irrigation system because you get a large drought season and your water level goes down. It's really good. It's a game basically about terraforming and city building. It's amazing. It's a lot of Dwarf Fortress vibes in it. Very much.
It apparently
recommended.
has lava. I approve.
Doesn't have lava. Not
I'm
yet.
still waiting on Dwarf Fortress Steam.
No, one of these images looks like there's lava. Or am I wrong?
Oh, look, can I have a look at the image? Or?
It's Timberborn, the Steam page, the third image after the video. That certainly looks like lava.
Or let me check the Steam page a sec. Oh no, those are explosions. So
Those are explosions.
Yeah,
okay.
You can blow stuff up with TNT to modify the terrain.
Oh yeah, okay. Now I'm like zoomed it in, and it looks like clouds. Okay.
Yeah, those are explosions. I'm really looking forward to whatever content they're adding at the moment because I've pretty much completed. I think I've kind of nailed it now. I've played on very hard mode and I've got it sorted. So I'm waiting on new content. But early access, very, very, very good. I've already dumped 30 hours into it. It's ridiculous. Played that game. I'm also kind of looking forward to on City Builder News the new Anno stuff. If you've seen this.
I've not. I've not played Anno before.
Oh, you have to play Anno. It's very,
I know.
very good. Don't game.
I'll play Anno.
Anno 1607, I think it was.
Yeah, that's a good one. 18
or 16.
I think I've talked about.
Wait,
it
no,
before.
1602.
So I think
because it's always equals 9.
Yeah. So Anno 1800s is probably the best in the franchise now. It used to be 1404, which was given, but I think this new company that's got a Blue Bite is done a fantastic job. They really nailed what makes Anno fun, ran with it. But there's new cosmetics coming up. They just had the High Life DLC, which I think I talked about in a previous podcast, which was very good, with skyscrapers and a very American developer from New York. I'm a developer. That's my New York accent, Rose. I can see you cringing
already. Hey, I'm
already.
from the South. I don't get this whole New York accent thing.
Hey, I'm developing here.
I'm building a skyscraper here. So they're adding, they added that, and now they're adding canals and stuff, cosmetic canals, and they look gorgeous. So I'm really sure I'll talk about that. Which I think they got a live stream tomorrow, so maybe we'll talk about that a little bit next week.
A city builder, or it's not really. I mean, it's everything at this point that I'm really looking forward to is Mana Lords. That game looks fucking phenomenal. It's city builder that looks quite similar to Banished, but also has some small scale combat that is very Total War-esque. It looks so good. It looks so good.
It was really cool. Also, I don't know if you'd played any Going Medieval.
I think I have that game, but I don't think I've played it.
No, I don't think I played it either.
See, that's yes, it's still in early access as well. 6,202 reviews, majority very positive. Yeah, it's basically Banished with 3D, as Castanar is saying in chat. It's very good. It's I kind of perfected the achievements and got all 31 already.
Another game I was very much it's a game that'll come out and I'm not really that bothered, that I am now immensely hyped for. Age of Empires 4.
See, I'm not hyped at all about it.
The thing is, last weekend they had an open stress test.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone could go play it. It was basically skirmish you could do versus the AI versus players, and I had a go of it. Did a couple of matches, and it is absolutely incredible. It feels like Age of Empires 2, and I know Liana described it as very safe. I like that they played it safe. I didn't want this a Dawn of War 3 scenario.
Yeah.
It feels like Age of Empires 2, but there is still new things. There is still an evolution of the way that you play the game, without it being a completely different game. And it's really good. It's a hell of a lot of fun to play, and I am very much hyped for when the full version comes out. I think they fucking nailed it. It's exactly what I wanted from an Age of Empires game.
No, that's actually kind of making me excited for it. Yeah, I was sort of in the same boat as you. I was like, hopefully, but
yeah, Untitled Acorn and saying in chat, I've never seen such a smart strategic remake, and it is a remake of Age of Empires 2. it's really, really fucking good. It's really good.
The thing got me thinking about it, right? I did look at the gameplay and stuff and people playing it, like in game, and it just got me thinking if I actually liked Age of Empires 2. Like, the thing is, like, I think it is one of those things. It's just Age of Empires 2 is for me, and it's an intensely nostalgic game, right?
Yes,
I play it and I listen to the soundtrack and I'm thinking of my happy childhood sitting on a computer.
First PC game I ever played, so I can definitely feel you there.
Age of Empires 1, the first.
No, Age of Empires 2 for me.
Yeah,
first PC game I played, I should say.
Yeah, I mean it's like that in Shogun 1, I think too, but it's like it's like even like stock sound effects. If I hear like the wolf stock sound effect in any other game, it brings a smile to my face.
The combat bell.
The combat bell. Yeah. Like the
village have been created.
Yeah. Any sort of stock sound effect, it just brings an instant smile to my face. Now, thing is, I don't think I actually enjoy the gameplay. Right? I think like I don't actually enjoy the game. I used to play the game as like a sort of city builder anyway. I used to build a pretty village, and the combat and stuff was just well,
it's prettier now.
Yeah, is it? I love isometric a bit too much. You know what? It's like when Stronghold Crusaders, Stronghold went 3D. It's not fussed with it anymore because I think the nostalgic element for me was the graphics, the sounds, everything, and with Age of Empires 4, it takes away all the nostalgia, and you're just left with the gameplay. And it got me thinking, do I actually like the gameplay? And the answer is probably no. I don't actually enjoy the gameplay of Age of Empires 2. I just love the memories, so I probably won't enjoy Age of Empires 4 because it's the gameplay without the memories, isn't it? Basically,
I would say have a look. And if you want, I've got a multiplayer. My first ever Age of Empires competitive random multiplayer match of any of the Age of Empires games. I recorded my first ever match, and it was a lot of fun. So you should have a look at that.
Yeah, I'll check it out for sure.
It's English versus English as well, because I guess neither of us wanted to change away from the default. It's the War of the Roses, all right. It's okay. It's fine.
Spencer in chat says everyone wants an old school RTS, but no one wants to play an old school. So, which I don't think is true, actually.
There's still a lot of people that play Age of Empires 2.
Yeah.
Yeah. And very much so.
And I do like the gameplay of Command & Conquer Generals, for example. I still really enjoy that. I guess it's still an old school.
Just on Steam right now, there are 8,000 people viewing all the people that are streaming it, and it's like endless, the people streaming it.
Yeah.
There's three scrolls? Yeah, 3 scrolls.
Looking at Steam charts or Steam Spy, whichever one does it as well. There's about 15,000 people playing Age of Empires 2 Remake.
Yeah.
About 5,000 people playing Age of Empires 2 without the remastered thing. Compare that to Age of Empires 3, which is hovering around the 3,000 to 5,000 mark. Like Age of Empires 2 is massively popular to this day, and they've managed to create a game which looks modern, that feels modern, and still feels like Age of Empires 2. I think they've nailed it. It's fucking genius.
Yeah. It's lost that magic for me of my childhood memories, and I think without that, I think Age of Empires is, because that's what it is to me.
We'll have to agree to disagree on that one.
Yeah, but I don't know. Maybe I just don't like those sort of games, and I've only just come to realize that recently. Liana's writing a review.
People can stand on walls, though.
I think
can they? That's cool.
I would assume she is, considering she writes reviews of pretty much every strategy game out there.
Your opinion has changed now. They
can
stand on walls. I now enjoy this game.
I love this game. It reminds me of Stronghold. All of a sudden.
Hey, guys, we're about to have the Rosebud knocking on the door here.
Oh, yeah. So it's probably best to wrap up, I guess.
It is. Yes. It has been for a while.
Yeah, well, so we just had too much of, can never have too much of a natter, in my opinion.
We'll see how much Leanna cuts out of the official version. So if you want this version, you have to watch it here or on YouTube.
That's right, yeah.
So,
or a more refined one without too much rambling, I guess, on the Soundcloud.
Yeah.
We love both audiences, though, of course. And I hope you all have a lovely week, viewers and listeners.
I'm just thinking of the meme where it's like, oh, I love you both equally, and then YouTube walks off, and then you say to Twitch, I love you, but you're the best.
Well, except if you want to watch the VODs, it is much easier.
Oh yeah, no, but then as soon as Twitch is gone and we stop streaming, I'll then record a soundbite where I'm saying the same to YouTube. Yeah, win-win.
See, my favorite ones are the podcaster types who listen to on SoundCloud and stuff, because that's what I would do.
Yeah. So
I won't watch live Twitch.
Depending on where this is going to end up, just cut the other bits.
yeah, it's true. My favorite is X platform now.
This is like the 30-minute goodbye. So
It is, yeah.
We're really bad. Look, we don't have a Leanna to say, look, we're ending now. Let's go.
Yeah, go. Bye. All right.
Yeah.
Have a lovely evening,
Toodles.
everyone. Take care. Bye.
bye, guys.